There are two unique varieties of plants that you might like to try in your home garden this year. The first one is called Bloody Dock. Now, this is a perennial plant, but it can also be grown as an annual, and it has really beautiful green foliage with red veins. It's an attractive ornamental plant, but it is also edible. And I grew these last year in my home garden, and I found that they have a sweet, tangy, lemony taste to the leaves. So they're a really nice green that you can add into salads or even just eat them on their own. I really enjoyed the taste of this stock. And what my hope is that I can establish an area in my garden where I have enough of these plants and they grow, and then in the fall, when they flower and go to seed, they'll drop seeds and then just keep reproducing and coming back up year after year like a perennial. These leaves taste best in the springtime. Now during the summer heat, they might get a little bit bitter. Just know that this is a variety that tastes better in the cooler temperatures. The other is the Black Devil Pansy. Now this is another cool weather plant. It prefers springtime or fall climates. So I'm starting these seeds indoors at the end of February, so that way they're ready to go outside and be flowering in the springtime months before it gets too hot. It likes cool, moist, woodsy type soil. So an area that's a little bit more shaded, it will probably do better in. And you gotta see it's a dark color, and typically darker varieties of plants sometimes like to be in more shade. Occasionally it will self-sow, which means it will drop seeds and then come back the following year. These plants are a little bit on the smaller side. They're only 6 inches tall. The grower recommends planting them in like a big block, which gives it a really neat effect of this big bush of these black flowers. But you need a lot of plants in order to make that big space of them, because they are kind of on the smaller side, the plants themselves. So to sow these seeds, it's pretty simple. I've already got my potting soil ready to go. Now the Bloody Dot, you can see how tiny those seeds are. Really, really small. So I'm just going to take a pinch of these and sprinkle them all down this row here. This is my row assigned for the Bloody Dock. And I'm not going to bury these into the soil. I'm just going to gently sprinkle a couple seeds. It looks like it's about 5 to 6 seeds on top here in this cell. Okay, I'm going to put the rest back. Now I'm just going to lightly tap down on top of here. I'm not pushing them deep into the soil. I'm not burying them. I'm just going to lightly tap them on top, so that way they kind of stick to that moist soil. And that's it. Now I wait for the Bloody Dock to germinate, as this variety will sprout in 10 to 14 days. So we will see how long that takes for that to pop up. All right, and I'll get my Black Devil Pansy seeds. These are also very small. I'm going to be a little bit more careful with these and only sow 2 seeds in each of the cells, so that way I'm not wasting any space. I like to put 2 in, so that way if one doesn't germinate, we have a backup. But these, I want to make sure there's plenty of room in the cell so they can establish a strong root system for when it comes time to planting. With a lot of the greens, I'm not as concerned with them having really robust roots before transplanting, because those pretty much leafy greens will grow really quickly once you get them outside into the garden. But since flowers take longer to come to bloom, I like to give them a little bit more space when we're doing our indoor seed starting, so they can get nice and established root systems and be closer to blooming right after we plant them outside. Okay, so now they're all on. And then the same thing with these is I'm not going to push these seeds deep down into the soil. They're really tiny seeds. I'm just going to lightly tap them in. Try not to get them stuck to my finger. And with all of these seeds that are very small, and I've kind of done this process of just lightly tapping them in, I'm going to want to make sure I take my spray bottle and spray the tops of this every day, maybe twice a day, to make sure it stays damp. But I don't want to put any hard water pressure on top of here where it could potentially push the seeds down into the soil. I want a light mist. I want to keep it damp, but I don't want to make it stop being wet and accidentally push these seeds deep into the soil, because then that will prohibit them from making their way to the surface to get the light they need to continue their growth cycle. We don't want the seeds to run out of energy before they make it to the top. And the pansies are going to sprout in 10 to 20 days. So that is quite some time, which is good to remember though, because I don't want to get discouraged if in 5 days they're not germinating and wonder what's going on. Well, it can take up to 20 days. So because they're in the house and they're in a warm environment, I think they will be on the earlier side of that, but we will keep a watch and I'll keep you updated on how these two plants are growing this garden season. Make sure to like, follow, and share. Leave a comment if you have tried either of these before, or if you have another variety that you recommend we all try growing in our home gardens this year.